Hey, my name's Jess. Today, I'm breaking down the styling science behind this shot, and ooh, do we have a lot to discuss, so get ready. Product photos are extremely important, but you already knew this, and that's why you're here. These are the same product, and they even have the same bottom surface, which is all white, but more on that later. So the first thing I like to do is style the product itself. I open it up, wipe it clean, and then arrange the wax melts to look their best. Styling your product is something that is very easy to overlook, but it can make a huge difference in your photos. Now let's style the scene they'll be in. This is a product I'm shooting for Holder Handmade. Her brand colors are blue, so I knew I wanted to make blue a main color in my scene. Can blue be a fall color? Well, I'm gonna make it one after this. I'll be using blue fabric to be my background, but I'm keeping all white as my bottom surface. Next, let's add a riser. This maple rainbow tray is from Dermont Decor, and it's perfect for the elegant and classy vibe I'll be going for. Now let's add the product. I'm purposely putting it on the edge to make room for a wax melter behind it. Now, pause. You might think, well, I'm not shooting wax melts, so I can skip this step. This is where our styling science begins. If you didn't know this, everything I do in my photos is for a reason. Adding a wax melter is going to turn my photos into a story. The wax melt container is open not only so we can see them better, but it also gives a welcoming feeling. Our main goal in product photos is to make someone want to buy the product, right? This styling is inviting you to reach in and use the product. This is why I use matches and wax trimmers for candles, pens for notebooks, ingredients for food, and so on. You might not be shooting wax melts, but think, what can you add that would be used with your product? This will help turn your photos into a story and make the viewers want them even more. Alright, let's continue with the styling. I want to keep the product being the only orange in my photo, which means I'll lean more into white by adding white pumpkins. White pumpkins are a fantastic prop for the fall because they literally go with anything. Also, feel free to hide something to help lift up a prop. You won't be able to see this in your final image. These white pumpkins now add gold to my color palette, so I'll add some gold plants to tie the whole look together. When I'm trying to decide what else I could add into my scene, I like to look at the colors I already have or could add to complement my current color palette. And the last thing I'm going to do is add some loose wax melts and light the candle in the back. This is our final shot. Though there's a couple more styling choices to talk about, so let's switch back to this image. Look at my gold plant. There's 3 of them. If you guessed I used 3 for a reason, well, you'd be right. There's a little thing called the rule of odds. You see, our brains are wired to look for patterns. When we see an odd number of objects in a photo, our brain tries to find a pattern or order in the chaos. This creates a sense of tension and visual interest that even numbers just don't give us. Next time you're styling, try this yourself. Start with 2 of something, take a photo, then add a 3rd object and take another photo. See which one you like better. I'm not saying to only use odd numbers, just something to keep in mind. If you feel like your photo is missing something, it could be from the rule of odds. Now, there's 2 more things these gold plants are doing that help increase the visual interest in my scene. Having them placed this way almost creates a frame within a frame feeling. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, framing can make an image more aesthetically pleasing while also keeping the focus directed into one spot. Let's step back and look at this full image. There's a lot going on, right? But your eyes feel drawn to the center. That's because my gold plants are forming a sort of framing feeling around my product. Now, this look gets amplified because not only are my gold plants surrounding my product, but they're also angled in towards my product. This technique is called creating leading lines. What are leading lines, you might ask? Well, similar to framing, leading lines help direct viewers' eyes to a certain spot of the photo. You might notice anytime I use greenery in a photo, I always have it angled towards my product. This is one of my favorite ways to do complex styling, but keep the focus on my product. Do you see any other leading lines? I'll give you a second to look. Do you see it? It's from my draped fabric. The way the fabric is laying creates another leading line that draws your eyes right back to the product. Now let's look at the pumpkins. There's 4 of them, which means they don't follow the rule of odds. So why'd I choose 4? On the right side, my pumpkins are farther apart, and on the left, they're the opposite. They almost look like they could sit in between each other. So this technique doesn't have an official name because it's actually something I made up, but I like to call it puzzle piece styling. The technique behind it is actually pretty simple. I intentionally create a gap between objects on one side of my product, and then on the other side, I quote-unquote resolve it or put the missing pieces. I like to think of this as a way to add another layer to framing because it technically does the same thing. It causes props to surround my product and direct your view inside. And the last thing to point out is how my riser is actually angled into my light source. Since my riser has lines on it, I have both my product and story element lined up to match the angle of my riser. All of these small choices I've been making have resulted in a gorgeously styled photo. Now we'll take one last look at my before and after shot. Alright, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye!